Anybody make it to the workshop on Friday?
Yeah,
Did you? I just couldn't.
that was very good.
By the time I got the mail and it was whirling around and it was like, we're there till 4 o'clock and it's going to get worse, I don't think so. But Tim said they're going to do it again.
Actually, we're setting one for Maine, not here, but a regional one,
Oh, okay.
probably Brainerd or so.
Okay. Don't have to worry about snowbanks then, right?
I wouldn't count on it.
Right. The way this winter is going, no kidding.
Maybe rainstorms or something, but not whole snow. So you can keep me posted on that.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, well, let's get started. Well, good morning to everyone. It's 8:30, Tuesday, February 22nd, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the Cook County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. If I can call this meeting to order, and then we can stand and have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So as we look at our agenda, are there any changes or adjustments to the agenda? All right, hearing none or seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Is there support?
Support.
Storley supports, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, at this point, we have our public comment period, and at this time, we'd like to welcome the public to come forward and address our county board, and if you'd come forward to speak into the microphone. For clarity, sign in and state your name and address. Anybody for public comment? Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good
Morning.
I am Pastor Enno Lindver. I'm the called pastor of the First Congregational Church, just kitty corner over there. And I'm also a part of a new group in our county called Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light. And that is, it's as it says, it's an interfaith, and we're concerned about the climate, we're concerned about our county, we're concerned about the world and what is happening. We have about 25 people signed up all the way from Hovland up the Gunflint Trail and down all the way to Tofty. And we fully support the OLA and what Naomi's are trying to do here to say we have a climate crisis. I read an article last week that said that Minnesota is already at 2 degrees above normal temperatures over the past 5 years. Oh, apologize. And so that means that if I had a 2-degree fever, something would be wrong. I would be in crisis. I'd have to take some medicine. I'd have to go maybe see a doctor. And so this climate crisis resolution, I believe, will hopefully signal to saying that we as a county recognize that we need some help and that there is something that is not normal and it's not going to go back to normal by itself. And so I would ask that you would vote to affirm that resolution and work with all the groups like Cook County Low Energy Project, with all the communities in the area and other organizations like the Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light, so that we can do our part, but also make our voice heard across the state and across the nation. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Enno.
I do have a public comment that was sent in to me. This is from Annie Passos, 319 2nd Avenue West here in Grand Marais. And she says, I fully support the climate emergency resolution and believe we as a community need to take action now to address climate change. I urge the board to pass this resolution. Thank you. Mr. Yorkie, do you have anything?
I actually have several comments this morning, Madam Chair, and I'm going to go through those right now. Give me just a moment here. So the first is from Denny Fitzpatrick, who resides at 210 Birch Drive in Grand Marais, and he writes, I just wanted to voice my support for the climate emergency resolution. Sorry I can't speak at the meeting in person. I feel it's important for our county to acknowledge climate chaos and to position ourselves for success down the road. Thanks to Olya and Naomi for taking this initiative. There is no planet B. There's a lot at stake. Let's be leaders in this vision. Thanks, Denny. The next comment I have is from Sue Hakes, who also resides in Grand Marais. And she writes, please add my name to the list of supporters for Cook County to pass the proposed resolution to declare a climate emergency. I respectfully request the county board pass this resolution as soon as possible. Climate change is our most urgent world threat. We must do our part. Thank you, Sue Hakes. The next comment I have is from John Alt and Chell Anderson. And they write, we are writing to you as we may not be able to attend the Board of Commissioners meeting tomorrow when the board will consider a climate emergency resolution. We ask that you support the proposed resolution, acknowledge the role of human activities in our warming climate, and the resulting present and future damage to the community of lives here and across the planet. We ask that you support the declaration's call to action at the county level to foster a just transition to a clean energy economy and be a leader in a local climate emergency mobilization effort. Please support making it a high and integral priority of county government to respond to the threats of the warming climate, which through direct action within its purview, through collaboration with community organizations and individuals, and in government-to-government relations, leads to and supports reduction of carbon emissions, mitigation, and adaptation to the effects of climate change locally and across the state. Thank you for considering our perspective. Sincerely, John Alt and Chell Anderson. The next comment is from Gary Grover, who resides at 1886 County Road 7 in Grand Marais. And he writes, Administrator Yorkie, I'm writing to express my support of the resolution that is on the February 22nd, 2022 Cook County Board of Commissioners regular meeting agenda. Effects of climate change are being experienced around the world, including the region we live in. Approving this resolution is an important step that Cook County can take to help mitigate the worst effects of climate change. I request that my comments be read into the record during the public comment period.
Did we lose the YouTube feed too?
Still got it.
All right. They're turning on. Oh,
Oh, they're turning off.
they just turned on.
Turned on.
They're turning on.
Check with April to see if we're still
Okay.
streaming. Yes, okay, apparently the live feed, the stream is still going, so I will proceed with, reading comments.
Isn't there
Okay. Okay, the next comment is from Don Petrick, who resides in Lutsen. And he writes, hello, Commissioners, Administrator Yorkie, and members of the public. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Don Petrick, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. and I am a Cook County resident. I urge the Board of Commissioners to vote in support of the resolution declaring a climate emergency. I was a public school teacher for 44 years. In a nutshell, all that time was spent as part of a collaborative effort to prepare our children for the future, teaching them the skills needed to have a good life. But besides skills for the future itself needs to hold the promise of a good life. What good are skills without promise of a good future? Regarding young persons' attitudes on their prospects for the future, a February 13th, 2022 New York Times article in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune gives this insight. Quote, a 10-country survey of 10,000 people aged 16 to 25 published last month in The Lancet found startling rates of pessimism. 45% of respondents said worry about climate negatively affected their daily life. 3/4 said they believed, quote, the future is frightening, and 56 said, quote, humanity is doomed. Another concerning indicator is that mental health therapy for climate eco-anxiety has become a burgeoning field. Unlike older generations, younger generations are now faced with numerous unprecedented catastrophic worries: sea rise, flooding, severe drought, wildfires consuming entire cities, severe heat, water shortage, food shortage, climate-driven mass migration and conflict, increased competition for limited resources, and mass extinction of species. The climate change crisis has upended the promise of a good future and is robbing upcoming generations of the good life we have enjoyed up to now. The good life that older previous generations have enjoyed is based heavily on fossil fuel consumption. It needs to change now. Urgent action to mitigate climate change impacts are drastically overdue. Further delay will force ever more draconian measures with diminishing effectiveness in ensuring a promising future for our children. We must take effective action while it is still possible. Please support the resolution declaring a climate emergency. Thank you. Okay, and I believe the last comment I have is from Barbara and Bill Gabler, who reside at 68 Big Cedar Trail in Ludson. And they write, Dear County Board, we strongly support a declaration of climate emergency by the Cook County Board. We know there is a climate emergency. We know there is nothing more important for the future of our families, our beautiful natural surroundings, and our world than a safe and sustaining environment. It is also needed to protect businesses that depend on the environment for their success. Cook County must show intelligent leadership in this area and vote to declare a climate emergency. Thank you. And those are all the comments that I have received.
All right.
And I would just note, the climate resolution appears later on the agenda, but I see that we do have Oya and Naomi here this morning. And in the interest of respecting their time, if the board would entertain a motion to move that item up to the front of the agenda, I think that would be a good thing to do.
I think that would be very appropriate. Is there a motion to move it forward on the agenda? It's under administrator currently.
Madam Chair, I'd make the motion to move the climate emergency resolution to just before the Highway Department.
Just before the Highway Department. And is there a second to that motion?
I'll support that.
Thank you, Commissioner Spallison. There's a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Well, with that, we will move on to our consent agenda items. And is there a commissioner that would like anything pulled? Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry, but because of the snow, I got here late, so did we miss all of the public comment period opportunity?
If you would like to come forward and make a public comment, we can certainly do that. If you'd come up to the microphone, the girls are going to have an opportunity to speak right before the highway piece, but if you would like to come forward, there's a place for you to sign your name and your address.
Okay. Yeah, I won't make you wait while I sign my name. Sorry, I apologize for being a few
No
minutes
problem.
late. I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity. and I am in complete support of the resolution. I am Jeannie Wright. I'm from just outside of Grand Marais, 7 miles, Cook County resident. And I just want to encourage the county to think about leadership in the fact that leadership comes in many different shapes and sizes and ages. And what I have learned about leadership over the years is it's not really about one person or one government or one entity. It is, leadership really is people coming together and providing direction, bringing forth issues that are important. And so I think as a county, we might say, well, what is the point in us doing a resolution? We're just a small county way up in northern Minnesota, almost in Canada. What is the point? And I think the point is that it takes each one of us making a stand, coming together and saying, we don't have all the answers, but together we can work towards a better future. And so that's what I would really encourage you to think about as you vote on this resolution today. It's not the answer, but it is part of the pathway forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. So now that we have captured all our public comments, we will move on to our consent agenda items. And is there anyone that would like something pulled from that consent agenda? Hearing or seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as a whole.
Thank you, Commissioner Svalison. Is there a second for that motion?
Support?
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mills. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. We are now down to our climate resolution, our climate emergency resolution. We've moved that on our agenda, and so we'll turn it over to Administrator Yarkey.
All righty. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Olia and Naomi, for your leadership on this effort. We've heard from our commenters this morning, and I think a lot of people in the community who aren't here and haven't submitted comments are seeing firsthand the impacts that climate change is having on our community. And we do need to be leaders. We do need to be taking action to reduce our carbon footprint. There's a lot that we can do as an organization. There's a lot that we can do as individuals, and you're providing I think the best example of how that works. And so I just wanted to invite you up if you do want to speak this morning. We'd love to hear from you. I know that you presented to the board last week, but if you have additional thoughts that you'd like to share, I'd welcome you coming up.
Well, thank you for the introduction, and thanks for giving us an opportunity to share today. We don't have forever to act, not to live, not to slowly combat the climate crisis. We must have decisive, immediate action. We must declare a climate emergency. One person can refuse plastic bags. Youth can protest the lack of action. Our community can form grassroots groups. We can sign petitions, but individual action can only carry us so far. We have built a world that is centered around government, a society where action is tied to policy. We are past the point where fun community trash pickups and reducing plastic usage can be viewed as a solution. We are teetering on the edge between hope and despair. We are in the final 8 years before we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming, before it's too late. This is the final countdown. This is the stage in which everyone has to do everything they possibly can if we're going to have any chance at all. If we want to change the course we're on, every level of government has to take action. Long past is the time where we can transfer the responsibility to federal or state governments. Long past is the time where we can say, well, if Congress isn't doing anything, that's too bad. You are the policymakers. You have the power to contribute to the journey. You have to act. The wonderful thing about this resolution is that it's more than a county resolution. We know that our resolution doesn't contain nearly enough action, but we also know that it will have a large effect. In passing this resolution, you will become the first county in the state of Minnesota to do so. The momentum can be harnessed and used to pass similar resolutions in Hennepin County and others. This resolution is a perfect first step in a long staircase towards a sustainable future. The climate emergency petition has spread like wildfire. Each person has done their part, and this petition has reached throughout the county. Every day, more signatures have added to our united voice declaring a climate emergency. 136 people in the county signed the petition, and as these signatures demonstrate, there is support from the whole length of the Gunflint Trail, the communities on the west end, the area around Grand Marais, and in the city itself, and from Hopeland.
Our community is pleading you. Our county is pleading you, and we are telling you as our representatives to take action. So here are some of the comments that we have received on our petition over the last couple of months. We are experiencing potentially irreversible global warming, as evident in temperature metrics, global ice melt, exaggerated weather events, and threats to biological habitats. Another comment. We support this climate emergency resolution as we must address climate change collectively as well as individually. Thank you for your advocacy work. And another, climate change is real. Please work towards making Cook County a part of the solution rather than just another place waiting to see what will happen. Our children depend on it. Commissioners, I should not have to worry about losing my house to a forest fire. I should not have to worry about our lake's biodiversity collapsing. I should not have to worry about the world falling apart around me. I should live the life of a young person, not an adult. But I can't, because our leaders are not acting to save this planet and my future. Now is your chance to change this narrative. There is still a glimmer of hope. As Jane Goodall said, I do have reasons for hope, our clever brains, the resilience of nature, the indomitable human spirit, and above all, the commitment of young people who are empowered to take action. Commissioners, we have done what we can. We're young, we can't vote. We can't join the city council or county board. All we can do is show up and talk. And we have talked, and we have done what we can. We have taken this glimmer of hope, and we have blown on it and fanned it, and now we are passing it on to you. It is time for you to take up your end of the bargain. It is time to join together in the first step towards the future. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. We so appreciate your efforts and your commitment to this cause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Naomi or Olya?
Well, I'd just like to say, I mean, as a county government, we do have opportunities to reduce our carbon footprint. One of the biggest opportunities is making our buildings more energy efficient. We haven't done a greenhouse gas inventory yet, but I know from having done those in the past that energy use in buildings is a big source of greenhouse gas emissions. And we know that we have inefficient buildings and inefficient systems. So there's an opportunity there. We don't operate a water or a wastewater utility. That's another area where local governments typically generate big carbon emissions. But we do have a vehicle fleet, and there are other steps that we can be taking in terms of water conservation because there's a lot of energy embodied in water. We do have our eye on the ball. We are going to be taking action. The capital improvement plan that we're in the process of developing is going to be focused on making buildings more sustainable. And so you're right, we do need to do what we can as an organization. I would also say, well, you can't vote or serve on an elected body yet. You're only a few years away from that, and I would encourage you to consider that when the time comes. So again, thank you for your work. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Storley.
Thank you. Thank you, girls, again. You came to our committee of the whole and did a little jogging of all of our memories of thinking about just what's coming down the pike with us. I remember many years ago, early 1970s, I visited the Nature Conservancy in New York City, and they were talking about birds, just little canaries and different types of birds were already gone from this planet. What was happening? Well, we had pesticides. That's what was happening then. That's been discontinued. So there's little things along the way that rise to the surface, and we say, what can we do about that? And this is where we are now. What can we do about this as a group of commissioners, joining the pastors group perhaps, joining other forces, city council? I think we can all work together on this, because no one person, even though we think, well, I'm not going to take plastic bags, I want to plant 2 trees, I want to do all that. Well, that's good individually, but I think as a whole, we need to all work together, and thanks for reminding us that that's the way we get things done. So I really appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mills.
Madam Chair, thank you. And, all these points are so great, and thank you for presenting and bringing this forward. And as Administrator Yorkie said, we'll be looking at ways that we can, as a county, with our buildings, and there's kind of these bigger picture, long-term values that we can look at. And one of the key takeaways I got from our tribal and county relations training was the idea of looking at 7 generations down the road, and what impacts our actions now have in that longer term. And we're having this discussion. I think it's helpful to think like that, but you don't have to look that far down the road to see the impacts, both on our livelihoods as well as just financially. When Administrator Yorkie is talking about energy efficiencies that we can incorporate, it's a pretty quick return to have just dollar savings through energy. And so if people are not in tune with kind of the livelihood impacts, then I hope that they'll be in tune with the dollar impacts. And I think this is a really good resolution, and really appreciate the work that's being done on it.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. All right. Well, thank you both very much. And with that, is there a motion to approve the resolution for declaring a climate emergency?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the climate emergency resolution.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mills. Is there support?
Swallowson supports.
Thank you, Commissioner Swallowson. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. So we will go to our original item 4, which is the Highway Department. And I see that Engineer Haas is here to talk to us a little bit about our 2022 update and plans for next year.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
My goal is to see how high that second can get. So this is the second time I've had this presentation with you all, so we'll see how high we can go. Anywho's. Yeah, I just wanted to update everybody to let you know where we're at for 22. Oh, cool. 22 construction, and then kind of 23 what the plan is, and then beyond that even. So I just point it over here?
I think so.
No? Yeah. No? I don't know now. What happens if you hit next? There we go. We'll just do that. I trust you.
Oh, no.
So you should be seeing the 2022 project map. So on there you can see we're kind of spread out all over the place. So we have our Cross River Bridge replacement way up at the end near the end of the Gunflint on North Gunflint Lake Road. Oh, there we go. We have our Pike Lake Road project, which more to come on that. Our Grand Marais Safe Routes to School multi-use trail, salt sand shed over at the Highway Department at our main campus, and then a bridge replacement over at Carlson Creek in Hoveland. That's on Moose Valley Road. So in total, we're looking at about $9 to $10 million in construction projects. So A lot of things happening. A lot of money and just a few things. Go on to the next one, please. All right. So, Cross River. So I've said it a million times, and I will say it a million more times. This is the courtesy of our town bridge funds. All the UT road signs, those wonderful big white and black signs we see all over the place. This is why that is getting done. So we awarded that to Redstone Construction for about $1.4 million. It'll be a 3-span timber structure, and WSB will be providing construction inspection services for us on that one. Similarly, another town bridge account is the Carlson Creek Bridge replacement in Hoveland. So we awarded that to Ulan Brothers for a little over $439,000. That'll be a double barrel box culvert, concrete box culvert. And WSB will also be providing construction inspection services for us on that one. Our Safe Routes to School trail along the Gunflint, that is the one that will be going from Highway 61 up to County Road 7 on the GES side of things. We're currently finishing the plans and the special provisions on that, so hopefully soon we should be able to have that one out for bid. That is utilizing a grant we got through Safe Routes to School, and then also some municipal state aid funds that we get every year. Our salt sand coverall at the highway department. Reason we had to do that is we currently keep ours at the MnDOT shed just east of town. Our agreement with them expired, and I think they might be doing a project there, so we have to move our pile somewhere. And so this was the opportunity to build something on our own campus. And so that'll be utilizing state aid funds and then our own highway department cash reserves to pay for that. ClearSpan is a consultant that we've been using. They will be designing the building and then the pad components. We're finishing the plans right now, so hopefully, again, soon that should be out and about. Go to the next one, please. Let's see. Pike Lake Road. We made it.
Yay.
We did it. We did it. We are doing it. 2022. TST bonds, that's the plan. We are going to reconstruct key areas along the length of the road. It is currently out for bid as we speak, and so I've already been fielding a few questions on that one. An additional thing I'll say, and I was going to talk about a little later today on the radio, is we actually are going to begin tree clearing on March 1st. And so there's going to be a lot happening on that road in like a week. So it'll look a little bit different. It'll be a little jarring, but that's normal. It's fine. Kind of an exciting additional thing on that one too is there's an opportunity out there through the IIJA infrastructure bill that got passed that we've all heard probably a lot about. So there's a grant out there. It used to be called the Tiger Grant. It used to be called a Build Grant, and now it's called a Raise Grant, however you want to phrase it. It's a general infrastructure grant, which is awesome. But it's a big one. It's a minimum $1 million ask and a maximum $25 million ask. So think big. It's a rare opportunity. And so this is one project I think I'm going to submit for to kind of do the rest of the road. Because right now it's not the whole road length, it's parts of it. And so my thought is this would be a great one to submit for to do the rest. The reason for this project is because we kind of already know what it's going to be. It's going to match what we're already doing. We've had already so much public comment on it that we know what we want. Maybe there's some additional questions, but overall, in my head, when I apply for grants, you kind of have to know what it's going to look like, what the end goal is, and we do know what that is with this. And so it's a great opportunity to go after a large chunk of change. The nice thing, too, with this grant is because we're rural, we can go after 100% federal funds. There's no 80-20 match. A lot of times it's 80% feds, 20% match. Because we're rural, I think the cutoff is like 200,000 people, so I just laughed and I was like, okay. Clearly we meet that. Yeah, so it's a great opportunity to go after a big chunk of change. So we'll be submitting for that. I think they're due in April, and I'll talk a little more. There's another project I want to submit for too. All right, 23, lots more stars. But there's a lot that's in that map. So it's construction and RFPs. And so RFPs are requests for proposals, whether it's we do it in-house, which isn't exactly soliciting for an RFP, or soliciting for one and saying, hi, consultant, we need some help designing a bridge or whatever it might be. So yellow is construction, blue is consultant RFPs, and green is in-house design. So construction, what we're looking at is Sawbill and Alfred Creek. So Sawbill is a bridge replacement up near Sawbill Outfitters. Alfred Creek is off County Road 28, just west of town a little bit. Junko Creek has been in the works for a long, long time. It's off Ball Club Road. What else do we have here? Construction. One of the Flute Reed River bridges. I say one of because I think there's like 5. So this is the middle one on County Road 69 near Hovland. What else do we have? The end of Devil Track Road reclaim. So from the end to Ball Club is the kind of one of the worst segments of pavement on our state aid system. And so I had submitted for a DNR SPRA grant for that one to help fund that. Otherwise, it would utilize state aid funds. There's 5th Avenue West reconstruction, and then the Grand Portage timber bridge and realignment we pushed until 2023. That's construction. As far as consultant RFPs, we're looking at the Pine River Bridge, way up at the end of the Arrowhead Trail. Spruce Creek slab, so that is west of town a little bit. Another Flute Reed River Bridge for design, and then also 8th Avenue West for design. In-house, we'll be designing the TA grant Gunflint Trail pedestrian path. That's the one we had talked about a couple weeks ago, going from kind of GES to that 5th Street, Gunflint intersection, up and around Sheriff's Office, the Highway Department, to 5th Avenue, down to the Recycling Center, so we'll be working on that. And then some big Gunflint projects, actually, mill and overlays or resurfacing between the 92s, and then also from Cross River Pit to the end. So in total, those 2 projects, there's probably about 16 miles of the Gunflint that would be getting resurfaced. And I'll talk about each of these a little bit here. Go to the next one, please. Sweet. So the Grand Portage project is one that we've been working very, very hard on recently, and it just, 2022 construction was our pie in the sky. We all kind of knew it going into it because it's not just the county working on it, it's the Park Service, it's Portage, it's BIA, it's a whole bunch of entities moving and grooving on this, and we are very close. I had expressed concern, and I wanted to talk about it with everybody now before springtime came, of just, we're not going to be done in time to get good prices, basically. And so, and especially not just prices, but also some of the easement stuff that's involved on that project. It's very complicated, as you can imagine, with all the different entities involved. And so pushing to 23, I think, is going to be the best solution, and everybody was in agreement with that, so that was kind of nice. But it's turning out to be a really good project. It'll be a new timber bridge, and so that'll remove the vehicular traffic off of the historic bridge and we're realigning 17 up there. So if you think of the letter L, or you think of the hypotenuse on a triangle, if you want to go that route, and if you don't know what a hypotenuse is, think of the letter L, and then connect them in the diagonal piece there. It's basically what we're doing, is realigning 17 there. So the historic bridge will stay put for pedestrian traffic, but we're going to move the vehicles onto the realignment. So that'll be a really, really good one. What's next on there? Sawbill Creek, we're working with our designers right now. Pushed it until 23 just because of the bonding cycle with the state. We were a little late to the game for this last one, so we'll just hop on to the next one. We are working with MSA on that one, and I think we'll have 100% plans by April. Go to the next slide, please. Alfred Creek, same story, bridge bonds with the state. We should have 100% plans by April. And that one we are working with LHB on. And so that'll end up being a concrete slab, actually. What's there right now is a corrugated steel culvert, and so it's a metal culvert. It's perched on top of some rocks right now, so the water actually flows underneath the culvert, which obviously is not good. And so just due to the site conditions, we thought a slab would be more appropriate instead of a box culvert. The next one we have on there is the Junko Creek Bridge replacement. This one's interesting just from all the different funding sources. So we have $235,000 from the DNR SPRA grant, the State Park Road Account grant. We got awarded that, I think, last year, so that was cool. Our soil and water, we worked with Soil and Water Conservation District, and they secured $150,000 through the Fish Passage, National Fish Passage Program. And then additionally, we got another $124,000 through CRISA funds. And what that was is the COVID money that went directly to highway departments from the state. And so it was the easiest, our kind of direction from state aid is if we can spend it in one spot, please spend it in one spot. And so this is a great opportunity for that. Yeah, that's kind of a neat one. On to the next one. What else we got on here? More construction. So we have a Flute Reed River Bridge. We've been working with Erickson Engineering on that one. Right now, so it's currently a 2-span timber bridge, I believe. And what they're finalizing plans on is a single-span pre-stressed bridge. But what we're going to do with the pre-stressed bridge is you can actually use timber railings. And so realistically from the top, it'll basically look the same. Why I'd like this instead of doing a 2-span timber bridge is it removes the pier from the project. And so that pier, you deal with a lot of pile settlement. It's something you're putting in the river, which is obviously, never ideal. So the fact that we can do this whole span just as one clean structure, I thought was a really good option. This is through the BROS account, so it's federal money. It's off-system bridge replacement money through the federal government. And what's nice is through this infrastructure bill again, it might be able to be 100% covered by BROS funds, by federal funds, instead of having to do, I had mentioned the 80-20 split. And so, BROS funds would be 80%, and then bridge bonds through the state would be the other 20%. This is a local road, so it's levy dependent, and so, if I'm being honest, we don't have a 20% match. So, fingers crossed for BROS funds or bridge bonds. Moving on to Devil Track Road, and so this is a reclaim from the end to Ball Club. It's about 2.7 miles of road. Like I had mentioned, it's one of the poorest rated pavement sections on our state aid system. And so we had applied for that DNR SPRA account again for $500,000. And so that one we're designing in-house. Fifth Avenue West, we've talked about that in the past before with different funding opportunities. So that's reconstructing Fifth Avenue in partnership with the city of Grand Marais. I believe they're doing a bunch of stormwater work under there. Great opportunity too. The road will be up. Why not improve your infrastructure? So we had secured $835,000 through the local road improvement program. And then more recently, Soil and Water, our friends over there, secured $200,000 through the Lake Superior North Watershed Grant. There's a lot of acronyms, so I appreciate everybody staying with me. But that's for green infrastructure, basically, which we're excited. I thought this would be a really neat project, almost a showcase, if you will, project of an opportunity to include green infrastructure. So rain gardens is an oversimplification, because that's as far as my knowledge goes on that. And so they're working on that right now and working on looking into partnering with a consultant on that one to come up with some good solutions. What else do we got? Design services. We are looking at our Pine River Bridge. So that's up at the end of the Arrowhead. It's another town bridge eligible project, which is great. And so I'll be soliciting an RFP for that, probably in the fall, is my thought. And tentatively, we're looking at 2024 construction. Nothing special, pretty generic project. So just giving you a heads up on that one. Similarly, the Spruce Creek Bridge. It'll be probably culvert concrete slab. Again, 2024. Again, another town bridge eligible project, which is great, and it's down on Cascade Beach Road. A few more. Or no, there's a few more. All right, another Flute Reed River Bridge. A similar project to the one I had mentioned just previously of it's currently a timber bridge, and so I think a pre-stressed bridge, like I had mentioned, will be a wonderful idea for it. This one is BROS eligible, so federal funds are available for it. It's another levy-dependent bridge, and so tentatively, we're looking at 2027 construction, so we probably won't even get after it for a while, but we're getting to the reason I'm doing this now, you notice this is starting to get pretty far out, is plans on the shelf. You get plans on the shelf, the funding opportunities come, you can say, here you go, let's build it. So I'm excited to be getting to that point now. Similarly with 8th Avenue West, so it would be a very similar project to 5th Avenue West of road reconstruction, state aid money. Let's just get the plans done, and when funding opportunities come up that fit this project, we can say, hey, we're all set. Here we go. So tentatively, 2027 construction as well. The Lower Gunflint Trail pedestrian path. So this is our TA grant money. So this would be 2026 construction. A lot has to happen before then. Public input. This is obviously in town, so I would appreciate probably talking to the city council on that, or talking to probably every committee at this point because we're in Grand Marais. So yeah, this was applied for through the TA program. We should actually know by April whether we got it or not, which is kind of neat. And so it's a reimbursement program, and so you get reimbursed in 2026 at the earliest. We could do it sooner, but might as well wait until we'll get our money for it. And so 2026 tentatively. And then the last one I'll go over, this is it finally, thank you, is the Gunflint Trail Rehab projects. And so those are the two I'd mentioned between the 92s, and also at the end of the trail. Tentatively for end of the trail, it depends if we get the grant funds or not. So I would like to do from the Cross River pit to the end. So it's about 10.25 miles. If we don't, it might be a little bit shorter, maybe just 2 miles, because then we're on to state aid funds at that point. So tentatively for the 92s, we're looking at 2025, and then for the end, depending on things, 2026. But this RAISE grant, if we get that, I would combine those into one project. And so then I think that's a reimbursement program, and we would see that in 2027, I believe, is when those would be under construction. And so I went after those projects because, again, think big. And in this case, we're looking at, I think it was just under 16 miles. It's a project, we already know what it's going to be. The Gunflint has been designated as eligible for historic, and since it's historic, it's 11-foot lanes, 2 to 4 foot gravel shoulders. We can't, that's just what it is. And so we already know what it's going to be, so it's a great opportunity to do this, and we're thinking somewhere in the $14-ish million range is what this would come in at. So, yeah, bless you.
Thank you.
And that was it. That was a lot of information. Do you have any questions?
I just want to thank you for all the planning. To look at what we have coming down the pike and be able to jump on grants and things because you're prepared is just very commendable. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And also for your collaboration with Cook County Soil and Water Conservation District. Anytime we can collaborate, it makes it better.
Yeah,
so thank you for that.
Yeah, any little bit on, helps, $150,000 isn't nothing to shake a stick at. And
Yeah.
so, that's huge. Thank you.
Any other comments or remarks?
I would
Commissioner
just echo that with the planning and being prepared for those grants. If you've got your projects laid out and we know what they're going to be, then that's just a huge opportunity. So well done there.
Thanks.
And just, again, collaborating with both the city and Grand Portage, and Soil and Water, it's just really powerful. So, and it's also really helpful for us as a board just to have this laid out for us and revisit it on a regular basis, just to keep it at front of mind, and so we know what's going on and we can answer questions and all of that. So thank you very much.
Anytime. Yeah, and we've talked about it before in our long-range planning, of like it's a living thing. So at one point, Sawbill and Alfred Creek and Junko would already be done. Things happen, things come up, so they just get pushed a year. Similarly with Grand Portage, we were shooting for this summer, couldn't make it, but next summer it's going to happen. Yeah.
Commissioner Storley.
Thank you. Great job, great job. That, we like things in the drawer. that
Yes.
We can pull it out and say,
Yes.
okay, next project. The location of the Cross River Bridge,
Yes,
where's that?
North Gunflint Lake Road.
Gunflint, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the 45 construction goes up to Babineau Corner?
Yeah, so it's a few different parts. So it's from, if you think of the whole road length, from 44 to 7, that piece will get done. And then from Cascade River to Babineau,
Okay.
that'll get done. And there'll be a little bit north of there. We're putting in a filtration basin there, not too far north, but so basically that stretch. And then a little bit of work at the very, very end down by the lake.
Okay. So the gap in between is what you're waiting for, maybe for more funds for that?
Correct.
Okay. Good, thanks.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Sterling, because that, at our last 45 meeting, you could feel the reluctance in the room, like, just realizing that we do have to take this in chunks, you know, but if we do get that, boy, what an opportunity, just like you said.
That was my thoughts.
Yeah, oh, holy smokes, that would be great for everybody.
Absolutely. Administrator York?
Yes. Great work, Robbie. I just want to say publicly, I really appreciate not only your ability to look ahead, but also to look at it creatively and to look for new funding opportunities. That is a huge, huge benefit to this county. And I know the folks that you work with, for example, on the Gunflint Scenic Byways Committee, other groups that you're talking to, you're building a lot of confidence in the work of the Highway Department. And that hasn't always been there. And I'm just really grateful to you and your team for the work that you're doing to keep us moving in the right direction. And while I'm at it, I want to give a big shout out to our plow drivers this winter, because boy, are they earning their paychecks. It's been a really bad winter snow-wise, and especially with all the wind that we've been having. And I know those guys have been out there like every couple of days practically, just trying to keep the streets clear. And, we'd be in a world of hurt without their work. So thank you guys for the work that you do every day.
Thank you. I'll definitely let them know. No. I don't think they've had a weekend off since Christmas? Maybe before then? Yeah, and it's been every 2 to 3 days. So, yeah, it's been a lot.
And I was just going to ask if you had planned that as soon as you started speaking, that the grader went up to clear the snow. That's like a flyby,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
When you're.
Yes.
All right. Well, on to our contract for clearing County Road 45, the right-of-way.
Perfect. Yes. And so we, recently, so it's a little rushed. I would have liked to have started this a while ago, but such is the nature of things, and, we deal with the timeframes we are given. We received a contract. I had reached out to a number of folks around town, and we had received this contract from Chris Gildum to clear the County Road 45 right-of-way. I guess I already talked about it. Yeah, there he goes again. I guess I already talked about it quite a bit, so I don't have much else to go on with this. Does anybody, so the reason for now, I guess, the reason we have to clear trees now has to do with endangered species, actually. So up here, we deal with the northern long-eared bat. The northern long-eared bat's favorite time of year is construction season, and so very convenient. And the big reason, too, is we're clearing quite a bit of trees. In total, it's about 8.5 acres. And the majority of that is in that realignment portion. That's why. Most of the project is just a little bit, we're clearing out, 33 feet either side of the center line of the road. Most of that's already cleared. It's basically brush in a lot of spots, some trees. But the parts where we're doing realignments, Babineau Corner and then at the Cascade Corner there are the big clearing spots. So that's why there's, actual trees there, not just, brush or scrub, whatever. So we have to adhere to that timeline. And so favorite time of year is construction season. We have until March 31st to clear trees. And so it's great because clearing trees in the middle of winter, great. Yeah. So I don't envy Mr. Skildum for what he is about to undertake, but I thank him very much. Yeah, a lot of times if it's smaller projects, if it's only one tree or something, on culvert replacements or something like that, a lot of times you can get a waiver, somebody goes out, make sure there's no bats, and then the tree can get cut down. So what we're doing is just clearing trees, so it's just the cutting of them. The stumps will be removed this summer. Does anybody have any questions?
Commissioner Mills?
I did have the question of where exactly, and you covered that very well, thank you. And is this cost about what you're expecting or within the project budget?
It was, and it was something that, you look at it and you go, that's a lot of money to cut trees. And it is. But the quantity of it, the location, the topography we're dealing with, the fact that there's 6 feet of snow outside, I'm not surprised. I don't, I guess to put it bluntly, I don't think we're getting hosed. But I just think it's a difficult project, and so it will come out to be more expensive than, say, if it was, June in ideal conditions. So.
Any other questions? Well, if not, I would entertain a motion to approve the contract for clearing.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Svalison. Is there support?
Support.
Storley supports, so we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Not? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Go take care of those trees.
And we will. Stay safe on the road.
All right. Thanks to you and your department. All right. So now as Tim Nelson comes forward to talk about some land services issues, should we take a break? No. Oh, we're going to change the routine. I love it. All right.
I think we all should take a break after that very lengthy presentation.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Nelson.
Okay, good morning, Commissioners, Madam Chair, everyone. This actually is pretty brief. This is the start of a process rather than the finality of the process. And basically, the reason why this is coming to you first to kick it off is because this had been initiated many years ago. We did, when we updated our comprehensive land use plan, each of the townships undertook their own sub-area planning efforts. And each of the townships made conscious decisions many years ago also to not do or perform zoning activities in and of themselves, even though they do have the authority to do that. They basically relinquish that to the authority of the county to go ahead and serve as all the zoning, planning, and zoning features. But during that sub-area plan process, each of the townships had come out with their own types of goals in mind and provisions even in the zoning ordinance, and want those basically reflected. And the Schroeder Township basically recently got together and conducted additional planning. And what they are proposing to do is kind of modify their currently what is general commercial zone district and change that into a Schroeder mixed use zone district. It's basically creating a whole new zone district and replacing it in where the current boundaries of the general commercial zoning district resides within that township. And so they submitted the proposal here to us, and basically looking for you as the commissioners to initiate the process. We can set that public hearing with the Planning Commission for the March 9th meeting at the regular Planning Commission meeting. We'll have time to kick it off, whether it takes 1 meeting or 2 meetings, depends on the length of time of discussion for those provisions, and then I'll be bringing it back here for final approval.
All right. Any questions for Tim? Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick one. Can you generalize what that changes between the general commercial and the Schroeder mixed use potentially?
Yeah, it's just, it basically is, and there's not much. I mean, you take a look at the general commercial provisions. One of the things that kind of struck us most to look at, because we kind of ran into this in some of the previous rezoning with, like, say, Lutzen Township and one of the home projects that had been done in Wildwood Acres, was kind of a distinction between the underlying zone district with its setback distances. So we kind of took a look at the zone districts and whether they would be in conflict with what actually currently exists right now with general commercial. And there is some distinction, but basically if you look at the second page under the provisions, when it looks at lot line setbacks and such, it distinguishes between residential and commercial uses. Whereas in the general commercial, it just has a standard set rate with regards to setbacks and lot sizes and things like that. So that basically is kind of the largest distinction, other than some of the uses that are kind of added in there.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't have the general commercial in front of me. Is residential permitted in the? In
general commercial, residential
Okay.
is permitted so long as it is specifically attached to a commercial type operation. And so that therein lies that distinction as well.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner Storley.
Thank you. At one of the town board meetings, Supervisor Martinson said he was working on this, and would I help facilitate it? And so I went to Tim and said, let's facilitate to get it on the agenda, to get to the public meeting and all of that. So I'm hoping that things go well, and I can't see it's laid out very well, that anything would be subjective to redoing anything, but right now it seems very plausible.
Mr. Nelson, I have a question. As I was looking at the map, I noticed that some of the areas that are considered, well, the red areas on the map are not contiguous, and that seemed, I guess, a little unusual. Do you have any explanation of why that's the case?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's a really good question, and it actually is fairly common in the county, whereas when we did the original zone map, what we did is, this is back in 1984, took what activity was in each particular area and designated as that zone. So there are a lot of actual spot zones that are historic from the actual use at the time. But when we set the zone, they look kind of holistically at it and say, okay, well, maybe it's not, or should be that way, or should expand that way going into the future, but it's acceptable now. So they designated each of the particular properties, and it's more prevalent with resort commercial. You'll see a lot of spot zones for resorts around the area, and then not a lot of room for expansions onto other properties around them, other than the Lutzen area. And so it was basically a product of just being commercial activity at the time of the development of the original zone map.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that explanation. Any other questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the Schroeder Township request to initiate a public hearing process.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. And do we have support? Thank you so much, Commissioner Svalison. So we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next on our agenda, we have the Carol Berglund interim use permit. And it looks like Neva is going to join us for that piece. Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
You guys can take a break if you'd like.
Yeah, we only do that for Tim.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, so at last week's Planning Commission meeting, they reviewed what had started as a conditional use permit, but then changed to an interim use permit for a wedding barn event facility at the Berglund Family Farm off of County Road 60. The permit had changed from what was originally a conditional use to an interim use after, through staff review, we realized that there's some state requirements that would need to be met if the occupancy exceeded 100 people. So I worked with the applicant. We kind of tinkered down the original request to be less than 100 people. And she was completely okay with that. She kind of sees this as a trial period to see how it goes, kind of as a way to fund the rehabilitation of the barn and the family farm. So there's a lot of discussion from the Planning Commission regarding how to mitigate potential impacts in neighboring properties. There was 3 neighbors that showed up to speak about the request. And it's kind of the normal concerns, noise being one of the biggest ones, increased traffic, potential impacts to the neighborhood, and alcohol use related to driving. So that was a lot of the discussion. And as you can see in your packets, the Planning Commission recommended 12 conditions. One of which being that it would be a seasonal operation, which was aligned with the original request to operate from June through September, which makes what was a 1-year interim use permit really effectively a seasonal interim use permit. And just to kind of see how this goes for this first year. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. We can get into the weeds pretty quickly about all the state requirements if you'd like, but shrinking it down to less than 100 people really alleviated all those pressures. There's a lot of state building code requirements that kick in over 100 people that Ms. Berglund and Ms. Krause are reviewing to see if that's where they want to go with things.
Well, I would just like to make a comment. Having been at the meeting, I was so impressed with how the neighborhood came together, with knowing that there were issues of noise and alcohol, traffic, lighting, sedimentation, I mean, just all these things that were concerns. And at the end of the meeting, all the neighbors shook hands. And it was really evident that it was a great example of Cook County coming together and people wanting to help with the Berglund family farm. So I just wanted to thank our public that was there at that meeting for the way they cooperated and worked together. It was incredible. Other questions or comments?
Yes,
Commissioner Storley.
Thank you. I think this is a kind of exciting new little business happening. I've been to some weddings in southern Minnesota at a barn, and everything, because you're usually having friends or family, can be easily under control, hopefully. And I understand the concerns from the neighbors, but, let's give them a chance for a season and see how it goes, and then review it again later.
Absolutely. Other questions or remarks? Seeing or hearing none, is there a motion to approve the interim use permit?
Madam Chair, I'd make the motion to approve the resolution for the interim use permit for Carol Berglund and Tamara Krause.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mills. Is there a second?
Storley, support.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I would just really like to recognize your work in working with the applicant to address potential concerns from neighbors and just adding to the success or helping facilitate the success that the neighborhood went through there. So, and I think it's, as Commissioner Storley said, really, really wise to give it a trial run and see how this goes. Very exciting. And there is a high demand for this type of venue in Cook County, and there has been for many years. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Thanks.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much, Neva. All right, moving down in our agenda, we have Auditor Brady Powers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a simple agency agreement with MnDOT for our American Recovery Plan airport grant. We're aware of the airport grant. It's been, it was approved. We got notice of that a while ago, $32,000, and we applied for it some time ago. But this is, MnDOT has a special agreement for this type of grant, an agency agreement, so that they can reimburse us. It's a little different from their normal. So that's the essence of it. I would ask if you had any questions. Otherwise, we'll approve it by resolution.
Any questions? If not, I would entertain approval by resolution.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve by resolution the agency agreement with MnDOT to act as the county's agent in receiving and reimbursing from the federal ARPA funds for the airport.
Thank you, Commissioner Svallesen. Is there support?
Support?
All right, thank you, Commissioner Mills. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion?
I should just mention one thing. It's only $32,000, but it can be used on any federal eligible funding project there. So it could be a match for another project. For local funds, it could be something new. So the airport board will be up to them to see how to use it exactly.
All right, great.
Nice.
Thanks for that additional information. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Now on to advertising for our RFQ for the master planning.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this came up late in the week. There's been a lot of discussion over an ALP plan and master planning, and the FAA, in order to fund a master plan, wanted additional information in our RFQ. We did have an RFQ for all for a master agreement with someone for all of our projects, but this became a priority for the airport commission this year, and we weren't going to be able to fund it without another RFQ specifically for the master plan, which really lays the basis for a lot of other projects. It includes the ALP, the airport layout plan, an actual survey, wildlife issues, and geologic surveys, and a special flyover, and GIS services, et cetera. And it really sets you up for about 20 years. We haven't had one for, I think, over 20 years. So we just needed to get more of that information in to the notice and the RFQ itself. So that's what this is, and the timing is there's a grant that would fund this in mid-April. And so in order to take advantage of that grant, the timing is we've got to get this into the newspaper today for publication this Friday, and then there's a whole list of timing steps. This will be coming to you in March for the RFQ approval.
Well, I know we talked about this at length at the Airport Commission last Thursday, about the additional piece with wildlife, having to look at the potential for fencing around runways, and there's just an incredible amount of work that goes into this plan. But again, it's a 20-year plan. It has the potential to provide us with a pathway to growth of our airport, and it's very, very exciting, and we are on a timeline, so all good information to come. So is there a motion to approve by resolution to advertise for a request, the qualifications?
So moved.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mills.
I would support.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Svallesen. So we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. So Administrator Yorkie, we have done already item A, the climate emergency resolution. So we are on to classification and compensation.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So this item is no surprise to this board. We've been planning this study for some time. The proposal from David Drown Associates is one that we budgeted for. The cost of the work that we anticipated having done as part of the class and comp study was budgeted at $15,000, and the actual amount for that component is $17,000. So we were a couple $1,000 short on budgeting for it. But the other part that I want to talk about briefly is the proposal to have DDA also assist in updating job descriptions. This was not something that we anticipated contracting out. However, in doing follow-up and talking with Leah Ekstrom, our new HR director, and she's followed up with Pamela Dixon, her predecessor, to talk about what would be involved in completing the updates of the job descriptions in-house, it became apparent very quickly that it would be time prohibitive to do that work in-house. As I think you all know, Leah and Kathy Polly, our HR generalist, have been so busy over the last couple of months trying to fill numerous vacancies. And, looking at the proposal to update all the remaining job descriptions for $8,000, to me, that seems like a real bargain. And really, it would enable us to get those job descriptions updated in a pretty timely way. Now, the way that we would go about doing this, we'd want to make sure that the way that DDA was updating these job descriptions would be consistent with the descriptions that have already been updated. And so what I'm asking for is authorization to spend up to $8,000 on that component of the project. But we would do it incrementally. So we would do the first few job descriptions and make sure that everything matches and that we're getting consistency across the old and the new job descriptions before moving forward. There is some possibility that, if that didn't work out to our satisfaction, that we would have to go back and do the work in-house. But, if it does work, I think this is a really cost-effective way of getting this done. And also will enable us to get the work done without driving away our new HR director, which, the workload is something that I am very mindful of. And I want to make sure that we're keeping things manageable for both Leah and Kathy. So the request today is to authorize me to execute an agreement with DDA in an amount not to exceed $25,000 to do the class and comp study and also update all remaining job descriptions. I should mention too, Commissioner Hawkins is out today, and I did touch base with her last week and offered to go over this item with her if she had any questions, and was hoping to talk to her over the weekend, but we were unable to connect. So I don't know if any of you have had any conversations with her about this, but I did share this information in advance with her. So.
I know having participated in the personnel meeting last week, know that and feel strongly about this is a great way to help our HR director. It's anticipated that to do these job descriptions would cost us 400 hours of time. And so I am just really pleased to even have this opportunity to make sure that Leah is able to move forward with posting positions and filling positions and not being overwhelmed with 400 hours of work on her plate. Other questions or comments? Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Minister Yorkie, for presenting this. And I really like the approach of, and we have talked about this as a board before and looked at our options, and I do like this approach. I also like the approach of kind of doing a trial with the job descriptions just to make sure that's how we like it, and also how the Personnel Committee likes it, because the reason that we're doing this is for the employees. And for our community, because we need to have our employees properly paid and satisfied both with compensation, but also feedback with job evaluations and job descriptions and just that whole dynamic. So it's really important for the health of our organization, and also, as you stated so well, our HR department, because it's such an integral part of our organization and keeping everything moving smoothly. I am bummed to need to use the fund balance here. That's something that I'm less than comfortable with, but it is a pretty small amount relative to our fund balance. So, and I understand that things do cost more than what we have budgeted for, and that happens from time to time. But that is my only disappointment there. But it is something that I think is very important, and I prioritize the importance of it above that use of fund balance. So.
One thing that I, excuse me, one thing that I neglected to add that is very, very important is just the process by which we are going to do this class and comp study. First of all, the proposal indicates a timeline of 3 months, which is very fast, and it may be possible to do it that quickly, but I've spoken with Tessa Melvin at DDA about our desire to make sure that employees, particularly the unions, the stewards from the unions are very involved in this process, that they have a chance to see the information as it's coming in so that they can provide feedback on the comps that we're using, the comparables for the positions. Because I know the last time this project was done, it sounds like there was not a whole lot of opportunity for people to weigh in. And I think it's really important in the interest of transparency, to give staff the opportunity to look at the information that we're looking at, to make sure that we're all on the same page about the relevance of the comparables that we're using, and to make sure that people understand the thinking that's going into the study before it's actually completed. And so that's something that I'm publicly committing to do. I know the unions have been very, very interested in having a role in this. And I just want to say for the record, they're going to have a role in this. And it's going to be not just one chance to see the work in progress, but as we're getting information in, I want to be able to check in with them, as many times as it takes for everybody to have a full picture of what we're doing. So that's an important element of the process that we anticipate using.
Madam Chair. Thank you for saying that, Mr. Yorkie, because I do see this as such a great opportunity to really get staff and bargaining units and administration all on a similar page, and to really help build more trust there. And it's I think recognized that there was some missed opportunities last time, and so I look forward to making it up this time and building those relationships again.
Further questions or discussion? If not, I'd look forward for a motion to authorize Administrator Yorkie to execute this agreement.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Smallison. Is there support?
I will support.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. So we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Administrator updates.
Indeed. So the key thing I wanted to mention this morning is we did do the first round interviews for the Housing and Redevelopment Authority Executive Director. Those occurred on the Friday before this weekend, and we interviewed 3 candidates and are in the process now of arranging interviews with the full HRA board. We've got some really good candidates, and I'm optimistic about the board's, that is the HRA board's, ability to make a decision once those second round interviews have taken place. The other thing to note, and this is under item 8 on the agenda, there is going to be a work session of the Housing and Redevelopment Authority on Thursday, and the purpose of that will be to better define what the HRA board's expectations for the new executive director will be. We do have a draft first-year work plan, but the HRA board, which has only been meeting since November, has never really had a chance to talk about, what their individual expectations are, and to try to bring those all together into a common direction for the board and for the new ED. And so that work session will take place at 3 p.m. Thursday afternoon. That's February 24th. And then again, we are going to be scheduling the interviews with the full HRA board for the purpose of selecting the first executive director of that body. And I am very excited about our taking that step. I've been investing a lot of time in this process since the HRA was first formed, and am really happy to have had the opportunity to do that. It is a lot of work, in addition to a lot of work that is part of my regular job. And so having Needy on board will enable me to kind of hand off some of those responsibilities. And so that will be a really good thing. That's kind of the key thing. I do have other things going on that aren't quite ready for prime time yet, but there's never a dull moment in this job, so always something new coming up. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Commissioner Mills.
Do you know, is Commissioner Hawkins going to be back for that? Okay.
She's not going
She's
to be
not.
available.
And do we have, I don't recall who.
I'll be there.
Okay, very good.
I
Thank you.
participated in the first round of interviews and will be there for the work plan and also for the second round of interviews.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner updates. Commissioner Storley.
Thank you. Last week, I attended the Arrowhead Regional Meeting, and I do have a PILT update, or a Ty Blatnick. There's two things going on here. Did any of you receive anything yet? No? Okay. Just briefly, because it's a very long letter, but this was from John Ungaro, and he said the Forest Service has received an initial appraisal report, and the reports are currently under review by William Crawford from the Forest Service Regional District. It's going to be reviewed. The process will be complete in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Once the process has concluded, the counties will be offered an opportunity to review the appraisals and provide comment. We have planned up to a 6-month window for the counties to provide the comments. So it's not a rush deal. Look it over, provide the comments. And those comments will be reviewed, and if needed, adjustments on the revisions made by the appraisal prior to the Secretary's final determination of payments. Anyway, that's the basis of it. So things are moving along with the Ty Blatnick. Yay. And the only other thing is I did attend NACO virtually, but, very limited, only because I represent the Health Planning Committee. And it was a day and a half, which I'm glad that they allowed us to do that virtually. Lots of resolutions. I'll report that at the Public Health and Human Services Committee meeting. There was a lot of good things that, had I been in person, I would have been able to attend, but I chose not to. There was a small delegation from Minnesota that Julie went with, and we'll probably get some updating when we go to AMC next week. But I guess in the future, whatever happens with attending these bigger conventions will have to be considered, but at least I was able to represent my area, and it was well worthwhile. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for attending on our behalf. We appreciate it. Other commissioners? I know we have a lot of training coming up. As Commissioner Storley mentioned, we have our AMC legislative work next week. On Friday, we have our senior elected officials training. I don't know about that name, senior elected officials, because I'm a senior. I think there's some other people that are seniors, but Commissioner Mills, I don't know. But anyway, we do have that training all day on Friday. So anyway, lots of good opportunities coming up. Any other remarks or comments for commissioners? All right, well, we have some correspondence and memos, the sales tax report, and then recognition of staff. We are thrilled to welcome into our fold Leeanne Avery, Community Center Assistant, new part-time position that we have there. And anything else for the good of the order? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion. Oh, second.
Oh,
Okay,
all right.
sorry.
So we have a motion second. Does anybody oppose this?
No.
All right, we are adjourned. And you get-
The dentist can't make it there, so they canceled.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, boy.
I forgot to shut my phone off, and at the beginning, you saw me doing
Yeah.
something, because my wife was trying to call and sending me texts and stuff, so I wouldn't start heading